say pledge allegiance. Would you like to lead it, please? Ladies first. No. We'd like to share. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Oh, for Zoom? Okay, Zoom directions. Everybody listen up who's in person.
The San Benito County Parks and Recreation Commission welcomes your comments. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 5 minutes. When addressing the commission via Zoom, phone, or in chambers, please state your name and county in which you reside for the record. Please address the commission as a whole through the chair. In participating via Zoom, select the Participants tab and click the Raise Hand icon. If you are using a phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. When your turn arrives, you will hear that you have been unmuted. If you are participating in person at the chambers, please complete a speaker card identifying the item on which you wish to speak and provide your completed card to the clerk prior to consideration of the item. Speaker cards are available on the table at the entrance to the chambers.
And now we have to move on to public comment on any items that are not on the agenda. So if we have any public comment. Okay, no public comments.
Hearing none.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
So now we're going to move into the consent agenda.
Yes. Steve Loop. Certificate of posting.
And the question is regarding the certificate of posting?
Posted in the usual 3 places.
It was. That's correct.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from February 28th? Okay, then move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, now we can move on into discussion items. Gracie?
Okay. County Parks sponsorship policy. Discuss and provide staff direction.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Gracie Rodriguez. I am an admin analyst for the County Administration Office. I will be presenting today's sponsorship policy. It is a draft. However, I just wanted to provide an update to your Commission as well as any public members that are listening today.
Thank you.
So like I mentioned, this is a draft. This is by no means the final draft. With today's meeting, I'm hoping to get a little bit more feedback if I'm going in the right direction or if I should steer a different direction. I would also like feedback on any potential agencies or entities that we should invite to the next ad hoc meeting to provide their input as well. So just want to run through the policy as it is right now. If there's any questions or concerns, feel free to go ask me at the end. Thank you. So you just saw the cover page. There is a content page, and this is all that's included in this policy. I'm more than pleased to remove any or add additional areas that need to be included. First, we start with an introduction. Essentially, it gives an overview of this commission and how it was established. It also kind of provides a few input on why we're implementing a sponsorship policy and what we hope to achieve with this policy. Essentially, this would be an opportunity for the county and anybody in the incorporated to bring in revenue through sponsorship and create partnerships with nonprofits, businesses, organizations that are interested in providing financial assistance either to a park that's already established or an upcoming park. For example, the Riverview Regional Park, that would be a perfect opportunity for us to go out there, outreach, and maybe collaborate with a few individuals, businesses, or nonprofits to fund any of the areas that may be available or eligible. And then we do have a purpose. We do also distinguish what is a sponsorship versus a donation. So that's all listed here. I'm hoping everyone had an opportunity to kind of read the sponsorship policy. It was attached to the agenda. And then we kind of go into the guiding principles for sponsorships, what we hope sponsors are bringing to us, and it also highlights what we hope the county, essentially what the mission is or what we are looking in the sponsorship. There are a few areas that we did scratch out when we originally met with the ad hoc early this month or late last month. So you can see my comments there on areas that we need to focus on. We did do a dry run through the entire policy and kind of just see if it was a perfect fit or if we needed to change anything. Sponsorship categories. So these are the categories that we came up with. There are various other categories that we can definitely include. However, we thought these would be beneficial. So the categories listed are events, the recreation programs, and naming rights. Events, I'm not sure if Parks and Rec hosts any events, but this would be a good opportunity if in the future we do have events. Sponsors are more than welcome to either provide some sort of funding in exchange for financial or in-kind support. Recreation programs, I am not aware that we do have any current programs. However, if in the future we do establish programs, this also is encompassed in this policy. And then the naming rights, they would essentially have an opportunity to either fund a park amenity, which will be defined later in the glossary what an amenity is and what it would essentially entitle. And then it just provides for naming rights, it does provide a few more guidelines, especially because it is going to be either something that's going to be in the park that everyone's going to be able to see. And that is provided just below that, how that is kind of set up. We are looking on a span of how long we want a sponsorship to last, so we are still looking into that. Originally we had thought 5 years, however we are looking at other policies to see if they have a different span of sponsoring something. So when I say that, I am referring to either, let's say somebody wants to sponsor an amenity in a park, let's say a bench. They would essentially have a 5-year agreement with this person to have their name or whatever they want on this bench for 5 years. After 5 years, we can definitely remove that plaque and open it up for any other individual that may want to sponsor it. Or the same sponsor can renew their agreement and continue to sponsor that. We also included authority levels. So mainly the Parks and Rec Commission will have the authority to approve or receive sponsorships if they want those to be reviewed, or they can delegate that to a designee. However, we are looking into having the Board of Supervisors approve certain sponsorships that go over a certain threshold. We are still exploring that. I've seen in other counties that the threshold for the Board of Supervisors approval is around 10K. We more than are willing to either go below that or go above that for Board of Supervisors approval. So this would be an area where we encompass that. So I do have my comment there, that funding limit requiring board approval. So we are still exploring that area. And then recognition of sponsorships. So there are various ways we can recognize sponsors for their contribution. This kind of lists all the guidelines for the basis of those recognitions. And then below that, we also have the types of recognitions. This can include a thank you letter, publicity to Parks and Rec Commission webpage, social media, media releases, or other applicable public outreach. We also have events. We can definitely recognize sponsors through events that can include public meetings as well as ceremonies, ribbon cutting ceremonies. I know for some parks we do have opening ceremonies or ribbon cutting ceremonies where we can definitely announce that these are all of our sponsors or donors if that's the case. And then also including just recognition at public meetings, that would be the Board of Supervisors or even this meeting as well. They can also be recognized through interpretive signs, which may include the use of logos, any plaque or a sign. We were thinking also maybe incorporating if individuals that do sponsor a certain facility that they could have their names on a brick or something within the facility that would stay for the duration of that facility. And then it just goes into determining what types of sponsorships and who would have the authority to approve those. So we did put the county administrator, that would be our CAO, that would be approving those. However, he can definitely delegate that to either to the individual responsible for Parks and Rec or this commission. And then with all our sponsorships, we are going to be implementing agreements. So for this one, we were thinking maybe case by case. Not all sponsors will be the same. So different agreements may be implemented for different sponsors. That is still in development. However, we're thinking that we can definitely pass this policy and do a case by case once we start implementing sponsorship or doing outreach for individuals if they want to sponsor anything. We would have that discussion with them and see where we can create an agreement where both parties are satisfied with the responsibilities and duties. And then we kind of just go into sponsorship process, what it would be, and how all proposals must be submitted in writing to the Parks and Rec director. That should be changed to the appropriate office. I'm not sure if RMA would have a point person or just a specific department that individuals who are interested, that they can reach out and learn a little bit more or get information. And then we also have the opportunity to terminate sponsorships. This would come in hand if there was a conflict of interest that arisen. Conflict of interest can include somebody who has a stake in either decisions for planning or if they're wanting to go after a contract that would create a conflict of interest if they're sponsoring a park but they're also wanting to obtain a contract with the county. So that would fall under the terminating sponsorships, and it does provide a little spiel on what that entitles. And then just ethical considerations associated with sponsorships. We do want sponsors that are in alignment with the county's policy, mission, as well as no liabilities that could come out of this, but maintaining sponsorships that are ethical in all aspects. And then overall, we do want to monitor and provide reports on sponsorship performance. We do want to make sure that all of our sponsors are being maintained. So we are wanting to collect data on number of active sponsorships. We also want to collect data and maintain data on the value of the active sponsorships. And then also just the number of proposals being presented to potential sponsors and the number of sponsorship proposals declined by potential sponsors. And then at the very end, we do have definitions on certain language that is included and what each means. But with that, I just wanted to wrap up and kind of give you an update on where we are with sponsorship policy. I am interested in having a follow-up ad hoc meeting with the respective members. However, I do want to invite other groups, and I'm hoping that maybe REACH would be a appropriate agency to reach out and kind of have a discussion on if there's anything else that we need to include in this policy that would benefit the county-wide, but also kind of our partners and both the cities as well. So with that, I'd like to invite anybody for comments, feedback, questions, concerns.
just, I had what came to mind immediately is like for a bench along the trail or something like that. Would part of the sponsorship be put aside for maintenance to keep the bench up to snuff?
Yeah, I think initially, Public Works would recommend that it's not a maintenance type of activity, but more of just the action and whether it's. I think we have to decide if we pool the money and what the purpose of the money is. It could be maintenance, but I think that the ad hoc should decide, okay, we have X dollars. Should those X dollars be split 50% maintenance, 0% maintenance, 100% new park amenities? But that's a great question for the ad hoc when you're discussing what will be the use of the funds. And so.
And if I could provide some sort of clarity. The goal of our sponsorships is essentially to infuse them back into our parks, make them better, but also kind of maintain them. And that can definitely be eliminated in the agreement, letting the sponsor and us know what our obligations are under that agreement. This is what your funding will go towards. This is how it will be used. But essentially what we want is to bring in revenue to maintain our parks and for any potential improvements that could be done within it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one of the problems with that seems to present itself with park maintenance is that impact fees that are collected for park maintenance are for new equipment, new things, but can't be applied to repairing ancient things that break and fall apart. And so there seems to be some way needed to take care of what is heavily used and enjoyed, to keep it up to snuff so it can continue to be used and enjoyed.
I think that's a good point. When we had that meeting,
You want to put on your
we
microphone?
talked about,
Microphone.
in other words, it wouldn't be,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be $25 or $50. If you wanted to do a bench, we're talking a pretty good amount that we're going to put a plaque on. Part of that money would obviously be set aside for, it'd have to be set aside for some kind of maintenance. But I mean, that's what we were talking about. We don't know the dollar amount yet, but I know that when we were talking, it's not going to be $25. We're not going to put a plaque up. But if it's $500, we'll probably put a plaque up, and then we would have money set aside for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
That was our thought.
I see Valerie almost jump out of her seat there. We welcome your comments, Valerie. Would you like to add something?
Did you want to open it to public comment and then back to the commission?
Yeah, why don't we open it to public comment? This won't take long. We don't have that much of the public here.
Yeah, it's great to see that the policy is being developed. But to your comment about how funds are used, it is for new facilities, but also if you have to rip down something in a park and create a new element within the park, then those funds can be used that way, if I'm not mistaken, and I've read the puppy a lot. The other thing is that when the first Parks and Rec Commission was developed, and they did the parks plan, which is not part of our general plan at this point, there was a sponsorship policy in there, and I don't know whether you've accessed that or not, but I can look into my archives and see if I can pull that out to see just what kind of the original thinking was on when the regional park got, initiated. But otherwise, yeah, there's so many examples of ways you can, which I'm sure Gracie has has investigated a lot of, acceptable forms. But yeah, REACH would be delighted to be involved with this next round of talks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. With that, I would just like to say that I will be reaching out to the ad hoc in the near future, and hopefully Valerie as well, just to set that up, and hopefully we're able to get this policy moving forward and then bring it back to the board of supervisors and any other governing body.
Now, do you have a waiting list of people with their checkbooks out?
So once this policy is adopted, I'm hoping that we can move into the outreach phase to let individuals know that they do have the opportunity to be a part of a partnership with the county and the Parks and Rec Commission for any of that. So we will be working with our PAO as well.
Good, thank you. Okay, moving along, 5.2. Steve Loop.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Steve Loop, Public Works Administrator, and I oversee the parks as well. And on that note, the Parks Department is very excited to hear there might be some additional maintenance funds generated by the park sponsorship policy. So on that note, we'll be talking about, for item 5.2, some capital improvement projects that are being constructed, to be constructed, and where some of the funding is being generated to accomplish those projects. So in the handout in front of you, we'll be talking about Vets Park first, Veterans Memorial Park. So we have completed the redesign of the restroom that's located near the skateboard park and the playground area. That general area, it's a red restroom. It's going to be, we're going to reverse the genders, and primarily it's going to be improved for ADA upgrades, and then kind of a fresh look to just kind of upgrade the building in general. And so we finished the design, met out with the city today on site to talk about a water meter that needs to be replaced for that restroom. And so a couple good bits of progress we've made with that. One, we actually should be starting construction either the end of this month or in early June. And when we do that, we'll have 3 porta potties installed and an ADA porta potty as well. So it'll be four porta potties installed during the upgrade. I think the upgrade will probably take just a couple months, maybe not quite that long. Depends how fast the contractor proceeds. But that's making progress, and it's actually slightly under budget. The budget for that project construction budget was $330,000, and the current construction estimate is about $250,000. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of funds left over to do other park things, and that's being funded by ARPA. Next project we're working on, we've about 2/3 of the way through the design. We have to get into the final design, is the resurfacing of Veterans Memorial Park. And so in addition to putting some new asphalt and striping, we'll also be installing quite a bit of lighting, and we're also going to be installing an additional driveway access on the south side of the park towards the skateboard park. So there'll be 2 points of access. In addition to that, the area near the restroom where we're remodeling, we're actually going to have cone off that area. So that'll be designated for food trucks and just a general place for folks to gather. There'll be some benches and things, but that area will not be accessible to vehicles, and so it'll kind of keep it a little bit safer. That's also near the playground. So excited about that. That we're going to be going through design this summer. Hopefully it gets approved by the city at the end of the summer, and we can put it out to bid and begin construction in the fall when the leagues are finished out there. And so the Vets Park commissioners have been reaching out to some of the league managers to make sure we're not going to encroach on their schedules. We'll basically wait till the leagues are finished and then hopefully start construction out there. And if we get decent weather, we should be able to finish that in a few months. Otherwise it might go into the spring, so we'll see. But we're excited about that. And then jumping over to the historical park, that existing bathroom is, I'll say, 99% complete. We have a few punch list items that we need to install, and we've ordered those last few items. They should be arriving in the next few weeks. And so once we have those installed, that restroom will be complete. So that's encouraging. And in addition to that, we also have ARPA funding for a new restroom with showers. We have $750,000 allocated for the historical park. And we haven't picked the exact location. That'll be up to the park management, and we'll work with them. And we're going to bring a civil engineer to have a site visit probably in the next week or two and talk about where we should put that, the new restroom. It's a prefab building. It's pretty large, and it'll have showers in the middle of it, and then it'll have a leach field draining behind it. We're going to try to size the leach field so that it accommodates some possible kitchen connections, just in case there's a kitchen that is installed at some point, either at the dance hall or the saloon. So we'll size the leach field accordingly, at least have an area that can accommodate those things. And where all that goes to be determined, but at least we'll have the area available for future expansion. And in addition to that, so that's being funded by ARPA. I also have $100,000 from ARPA. We're going to put a new water filtration unit on the water system for the park so that it'll be potable, drinkable. Right now, we're actually going to have to do some testing because I've been talking to the state, and we're going to make that water system an actual regulated water system for the state. And so we're going to start doing some testing to see what kind of water quality we have on the existing well. Depending on that, that'll help us determine what kind of filtration unit we need to purchase. And then hopefully we'll be installing that at the same time this fall when we install the restrooms. And just so folks know, for ARPA money, we have to obligate it this year, which doesn't mean we have to finish construction this year, but we have to get under contract with folks this year, which is a good thing because it makes the county and myself move faster. And so as long as those funds are obligated in 2024, then we can construct over into the spring if we need to. But so those are all good things for the historical park. In addition to that, just so folks are aware, the historical park actually has some plans to install some new trees. Public Works also has some funding to remove some existing trees that need to be removed and to make the new tree layout work more efficiently, I guess you'd say. So we're working with an arborist and a tree company to remove several trees and branches and things out at the park that we've walked with the park manager as well. And that might be an ongoing thing, depending on how much money we can set aside for that. But that can start hopefully in the next few weeks. It depends on the arborist and getting the contract with them going. But we had a site walk actually a few weeks back, and they sent us a contract, so that we just have to sign the contract and do some tree trimming and remove some trees out at the historical park. So
Steve?
I'm going to put up some slides. 'Cause
Steve?
I think,
Steve,
yes.
does that include any stump grinding? Because there are a lot of old things to climb on and fall off of?
I don't recall if it includes stump grinding. It was just tree trimming and maybe removal of a couple trees. So no. So did you have some specifically in mind?
Well, all the ones that are climbable and fall offable,
Yeah. Okay.
especially
Great,
on the county side.
great suggestion. That's not in the current scope, but like I said, we're looking to add the scope. So tree stump grinding.
They have babies.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's expensive.
yeah, is
Stump removal is expensive.
Well, they're
too.
expensive machines.
Yeah.
yeah. So offline, we can talk if you have a contractor recommend, as long as they perform per prevailing wages, then and we can discuss some kind of thing. Yeah. So that sounds good. So
You've done
let me
work for
know.
me before, very reasonable price, so
Okay. Great.
that's why I said that.
Excellent. And if folks in the back can flip on the presentation. There you go. Thank you so much. Good deal. So that was Vets Park and Historical Park. And I'll go through this. It's not a long presentation, then we can have comments from public and the commissioners. So jumping over to Sunnyside Park. And for folks that aren't aware of the location, so Sunnyside Estates has an area designated for a park. Right now it's just dirt and weeds and fun things like that. But if you're if you're driving down Southside Road and you were to turn down Hospital Road where the new bridge is, there's actually going to be two parks. One of them is going to be inside the subdivision, Sunnyside Estates, and the second one is actually going to be near the subdivision across the way on the south side of Hospital Road called Riverview Estates. And there's a cutout right near the bridge, kind of where the Riverview River Parkway and Hospital Road split, that like Y, I guess you'd call it. There's an area that the county owns, and so we're actually going to put a playground there and some picnic areas and some turf and fun things to do. So it's actually two parks, and so the design's done. We just have to go to the bid docs, which we're basically going to finish in the next few weeks and put it out to bid in June, and then hopefully start constructing in August is probably realistic. So before we do all that, we're actually going to be installing a 6-foot wood fence around the park area because the park borders San Benito River, and so there's some issues there. And so this fencing was part of the park project itself as one big package, but county staff has decided that we're going to actually extract the wood fencing scope and just install that now, just to help kind of secure that area a little better, and then we'll move on with the full construction of the park later this summer. And it should take approximately 6 months, pending weather and pending when the playground equipment is delivered. Should be ready to have that usable in the spring. So yeah, winter 2024 or spring 2025, construction's completed, pending availability of the playground equipment from the manufacturer. And so that's Sunnyside Park. And then we'll jump over to Riverview Regional Park. For folks that aren't familiar with it, adjacent to Hollister High School, there's about a 60-acre area. There's an upper plateau where we're going to build a parking lot and kind of an observation area. And then down below is where we're going to install all of the park amenities. And so actually this month we have the playground designed, the main playground. We're going to actually be ordering another set of playground equipment, but the major part of the playground equipment area we're actually going to purchase this month because the lead time is about 8 months. And so it'll be ready when we hopefully have our environmental permits, which I'll talk about in a moment. So this November, we're actually going to finish the design package and it'll be ready for bidding. However, we still are going through kind of phase 2, I guess you'd call it, of the environmental analysis. And so we hope to have the environmental analysis for the park and the permits ready in March of 2025. So actually a few months after the design's ready. But we can't really award a contract until we have all the permits that we need. So in March, we're hoping to put the project out to bid. And then in April of 2025, construction begins. And something to note, that the park is a multi-million-dollar project. We're hoping to actually, the county's actually hoping to team with some staff from REACH. We've had a couple meetings because there's a real big grant that's available to apply for. I think it's in November of this year, and it would be great if somehow we could acquire some of that funding. That grant is a minimum of a $10 million grant, and it could absolutely help the park. I think it's between 10 and 20 million. So it's big, but it's a big effort. So we're going to team with REACH and apply for that grant, which is very exciting. Any money, obviously, that we save from our own park impact funds, we can use for other things. And so, yeah, April 2025, hopefully construction begins, and then by December, construction will be completed. It's about an 8 or 9 month time frame. Again, depending on weather, but we've had some very dry winters in the past, and also some recent wet winters in the past. So we'll just see where that all goes. But what we do is when we get close to rainy season, we kind of winterize the site, just in case it starts raining. And if it doesn't, then we can keep constructing as long as we're meeting the parameters of the permit, which usually says you can't build inside, creek beds and creek banks. Luckily, this is a little bit higher plateau, and so we'll see. We just have to follow the parameters of the environmental permits. And finally, hopefully, folks in this room have received an invitation for 2 weeks from this last Monday, May 20th, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Resource Management Agency, which is across from the airport next to the Sheriff's Department on 2301 Technology Parkway. We're going to have our final stakeholder meeting. I think technically this is probably our 4th meeting for the Riverview Regional Park, maybe 5th. But so what we want to do is we're going to be focusing on, we want folks to attend that meeting and have ideas about specific amenities. For example, the disc golf, or the remote control car track, or the community garden. Whatever your interest is, we're going to have breakout groups and welcome input from whoever's attending to have very specific input on the different amenities, because we're at a point where, like I said, we want to finish design over the next 4 or 5 months, and so we want to, as best we can, incorporate the community's input and comments into the design. And so if you do know folks, if you've been invited, and you do know folks that have a specific interest and not just a general interest in parks, but please invite them forward. You're welcome to forward the invite, and we look forward to that meeting in a couple weeks at the RMA. And so I'll pause there for questions or comments.
Comments? Hearing none.
And, you want to open to public comment? Okay, sounds good.
Anybody in the audience?
Public comment, please step forward.
Is there anybody on Zoom? Oh, okay. Yeah, she's required to be here.
Oh, thank you. It's so exciting to see things come to this point for the regional park, and to get those little parks out, Sunnyside. Those little neighborhoods have really been suffering, without any kind of accommodation. although they've got the river, you know, that's where I'd be.
Yeah, that's private property. Let's not forget that.
Right, right. But, I forgot what I wanted to say. Thanking Steve Luke especially for all the work that he's been focusing on, and I know that you've got such a burden already. And I lectured someone on Facebook earlier today about when they said, well, is this a problem with just people haven't been maintaining the roads? So I went through the whole list in order to help them understand the county and why we don't have the roads, but not just that, it's our parks, and that where the funding comes from, how little we get back from the state on property taxes, and how to contribute to moving it forward rather than criticizing, you know. Don't complain if you're not out there doing something. So, anyway, my 2 cents, and I'm very excited about the parks moving forward. Yeah, we'll go through with the naming policies, which will be exciting. I have been talking to the Business Council over the last 2 years, periodically mentioning it when I felt there was kind of like a sputter forward in the process, and so I think that they will be interested once they see things moving and we put it out there. So I'm very excited for that too, and I'm sure our new PIO, Public Information Officer, has been doing an excellent job on the website and Facebook to project all kinds of things out there about the county. So I think she, by then, is going to have a good handle on attracting people to the website for information. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? No more public comment.
No, I think the commission would like to, I want to personally thank Steve, because most of the people who've been in your position over the past 10 years have either died or whatever. Luckily, you're young and enthusiastic, and hopefully you see your cardiologist on a regular basis. But this is only one of the things that you're responsible for, and I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thanks. I'll try to stay vertical. So, thanks. Yeah, we're excited. You know, ARPA's helping a lot, and we have some park impact funds. Finally, one of the positives from having all the folks move into the county is every time a building permit's issued, it generates a park impact fund. So we're actually starting to accumulate enough funds to build some of these parks, and so we're very excited about that.
Yeah, we just need to have a tax base that can generate funds to maintain them once they're built. So part of the thing is to urge people, you know, if they complain about the roads and when they're on their way to Costco, maybe they should buy stuff here that generates taxes to, you know, fix the roads
Helps
here.
Measure G. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We need stores here too. We need to put stores here too.
Yeah.
We need a Costco or a Walmart here.
Yeah, all we have to do is build 10,000 more routes. That's 22.
Yep.
Anyway, commissioner reports?
Nothing to report right now.
Nothing to report?
Nothing to report.
I have to dig out through my phone. We got the opportunity to spend 11 days in Texas chasing the eclipse, which we saw for a brief moment. It got not as dark as it did on TV, but we got to see total eclipse outside of San Antonio, but I did get the opportunity to visit some wonderful parks, and everything in Texas is, of course, bigger and not necessarily better, but it's certainly bigger. So I'll dig through my photos and everything. I saw some good examples of parks for little ones and for adults too. Seems like they also, give places for the crazies to hang out, and there was plenty of them. So. Huh? Well, they stayed there. Anyway, so if there's no further business, we'll have a motion to adjourn, and all right. Thank you. It was, yeah, Marie and